Here we are, a rather flooded upper Lough Erne. That way is the Derryadd jetty that's currently underwater, so I'm just over here to the side of it. Let's see what today brings, eh? Another day fishing. Today I'm unsupervised. Ooh. Everywhere in the Erne seems to be very flooded, so I found a little place that I can kind of sneak in and put 3 rods out and then get out of the way. I've had to put the Brolly up, as you can see, because the drizzle is just killing me today, man. So the Brolly's up on a old rock jetty. So I'm having to use the bags and the kit to weigh the Brolly down, but thankfully, touching wood, there isn't no real wind today. Well, there will be later on at about 7 o'clock. We're apparently getting 45-mile-an-hour gusts. So by that time it'll be pitch black here and I'll be long gone. I have 3 rods out. 2 in the bottom ledgered and 1 that's just float ledgered in the margins. To my left, there's like a big back eddy, so I've whacked out a big mackerel and put full of oil and left it there. The only thing that's came anywhere near it so far is a big bloody cormorant, so let's hope we don't catch that. If anything, it'll make good vlog content trying to get the hooks out of the bastard, but I'm going to finish my cup of coffee. It's just a bit of a wild day just with this drizzle, so let's see how today goes. I have 3 rods out, 2 rods in the middle, eelhead, small trout, ledgered on the bottom. The flow is tanking that way. In the margin here close to the side I've chucked a whole mackerel. Now the whole mackerel, the float was sitting like that there, and the float's just now popped like that. So I'm gonna have a little wind. I think it was just because of the slack line. Yeah, there's nothing on that. Nothing at all. What I'm going to do is put this back out. See, fucking zebra mussels. I'm going to put this back out into that spot. This is the lightest rig in the world. All that's holding the bait down is this 5-gram little drilled bullet that the carp guys use. The stop knot is set about 6 foot deep. And all we do is we just chuck it into this big pool of slack water. We're not fishing miles away, we're just fishing in the margins. And that will sink, that bait will sink down pretty quickly because of where that lead shot or that shot's attached to it. The float will pop up like so. And if anything moves that fish, the float will either disappear or it will pop up and lay flat. The only resistance is that little 5-gram lead. So that's in the margins. You can see all the flotsam and jetsam that's coming down the loch is in here. So this is the place where all of the backwater is. I'm just going to move out some of the slack line here. You don't want slack line, you want line as tight as you can get it. And because it's braid, it's dead easy to see. This is why I use white braid for float fishing. And it's like that there. And where I'm sat, I'll be watching that float you know, like a hawk anyway. But if I drift off, fall asleep or do whatever, then the alarm's there to kind of wake me up. But that'll just sit there in the slack water. And it'll stink and it'll smell and it'll go drift around the slack water. And hopefully it picks up a pike that's sitting off the main, like the water is going hard that way towards Enniskillen. This is location number 3 today. I did first of all go to Crom Church, but there's an event on today so you can't use the church. I then went to Derryadd jetty, and there was 3 guys on Derryadd jetty that I think they'd been there overnight. And this is the 3rd. No, it's actually venue number 4 because I went to Corradilla. And there was 3 guys in Corradilla as well. You know, so I came in here hoping in the off chance that there was nobody here because of the flooding, and I was spot on because there's nobody here because of the flooding. It's drizzly, miserable day. As you can see, that's the jetty, that's Corradilla, or not Corradilla, that's Derryadd jetty. It is now underwater. Yes, you could fish it, put it on a pair of wellies and fishing it, but no. It's already slippy enough. It doesn't need to be made any more dangerous fishing it when it's underwater. Let's get a cup of coffee on the go. What a day. What an absolutely shitty day. I'm going to recast out one of the bits, but I'm going to wire it up full of oil. I got some new way slings, floating retainer slings. They're the Fox ones. I have been using the Pro Logic ones. The Pro Logic ones are perfectly fine. But I got a couple of these just for they look pretty good. I like the mesh. I'll just have to re-zero my scales to put the if I do catch anything. I'm going to cast this. I've got my mackerel tail on that, my whole mackerel on that. It's just fishing. It's actually sitting in about 7 foot of water. But when you can see all the reeds are getting blown into this bit here. So this is the backwater. When fish die, prey fish die, they'll get kind of swept into backwater. So don't neglect the backwater channels. I'm going to wire up my eel head with some smoky mackerel oil and chuck it back out into the flow. It's actually pretty mild today. It's just drizzly. So that one's full of smoky mackerel. I'm going to wire the other one full of salmon oil. It's a little trout, so salmon oil. Match the hatch to steal a carpe term. There we go, little salmon pair. I put lots of holes in them so that the oil gets out pretty quickly. It's almost cooking with scopes time. Got to enjoy the little things. Cooking with scopes time. We're having old school bacon, eggs and chorizo rolls. The bacon we are having today is Fermanagh black bacon. This stuff's actually really nice. You don't get a whole lot of it for a big packet though. So it's a case of enjoying what you have when you have it. Oh. I love how they vacuum pack this shit into something that you can never fucking open. And then when you go and try to peel the bacon off the fucking thing, the bacon just goes into shit. If you're watching out there, Fermanagh black bacon manufacturer, Jesus Christ, make your bacon so that, look at the shape of that now. Can't get it out of the fucking packet. 6 tons of plastic around it. This had better be the fucking best bacon I've ever eaten. Look how it goes. I'm trying to take it out of the packet. Disappointed. And there's the last bit. It's fell to pieces coming out of the packet. Don't get me wrong, it's nice bacon, but Jesus Christ. Yes, a fucking wrestling match to get it out of the packet. We've got some chorizo as well. And I got some eggs. Chorizo's great, nice and spicy, and you'll get a lot of good colour in it. Testing tongs. Tongs are working. Right. Let's just finish this. The nice thing about putting chorizo in, it gives you this lovely orange oil. You don't need a lot of chorizo, just enough. And that's just enough there. Now we'll do the eggs. This will be fun. Chorizo has a nice smoky paprika taste to it. So you're going to have a nice smoky paprika flavoured egg when you put your eggs in it. If you don't like paprika, don't eat chorizo. I'm going to do 2 eggs. It's gonna be good, it's gonna be good. Make sure you take your rubbish home with you if you're cooking. I'm going to cook these off, put these into a bit of bread, and then I'm going to get stuck into them. Well, that was interesting. I just no sooner had got the last bite of sandwich into my face and my float ledgered smelt run off. Wound down, struck. No, it wasn't the cormorant. It was a pike. I can't advise you on what sort of size it was. I would say it was a mid-double. It got in front of me and threw the hooks at the net, but it was only hooked like one hook, like literally kind of in the scissors. The weirdest take I've had in a long time. The float's sitting like this here, and there's only so much the float can rise before it starts to tilt over. Well, the float was doing that there, and I was sitting thinking, this could be the wind, because the wind has got up a little bit. It could be the wind. So I picked up the rod and wound out a little bit, and I began to drag what I thought, thinking, well, if there's something there, I'll drag it slowly, and if it's there, it might hit it. If it's not there, then I'll just set the rod back down. You know, you don't lose anything. And I went to drag, and it was solid, so set the hooks. And yeah, there is fish here. You'll just have to imagine if I had caught it and actually got it in the net and I was holding it like this. But there is fish here. That is the first run of today. I'm actually thinking about putting a ledgered bait out there now, because the wind's getting, you know, almost too much that you can't really see the float ledger. But apart from that, lunch was awesome. I think the fried eggs and chorizo was just a nice touch. I think I might have to make eggs a regular again. It's the problem with cooking eggs. Like the other frying pan I had kind of had like ridges in it, and you couldn't cook eggs in it. Whereas that tracker one, it's smooth enough where you can cook eggs, non-stick. So I think eggs could be a regular. I quite like eggs. Anyway, back to the fish. I'm not sure what to put on out there. You know, the smelt that was picked up was only a small little smelt. So I'm sitting thinking, if I put out a bigger bait, you know, if there is something sitting there. I mean, down this side of me, there's all trees. It goes right the way down to a marina. The wind for the last couple of days has been going consistently in the one direction, which means that everything's going to get pushed into those trees. So if there is, you know, dead fish, the dead fish are going to eventually get blown in here. But having one run is It's quite it's good. There's fish here. It's just gone. It's just gone 2 o'clock. That was the first run of the day. More coffee, I think. This is the fourth venue that I've tried today. The first one was the church at Crom, where you go down to like an old-fashioned slipway, but there was signposts up saying that there was a church thing. If there's a church thing on, then there's a church thing on. You know, it's the Church of Ireland's grounds. You don't, you obey what they're saying. Normally, if you go there and you fish, and the minister, he might come down. He's a pleasant enough chap, you know. He make a few pound donation to the church, and he goes away happy and wishes you all the best. You know, he's good. He's a nice chap. He is a nice guy. But because there was an event there, I didn't want to go there. I wanted to move on. I went to Derryadd. Those guys there. Went to Corradilla. Guys there. So the drizzle has cleared up a little bit, but the wind's getting steadier and steadier. So I fish till dark, and then I'll take a slow drive home. But the drizzle this morning, Jesus, it was awful. It was that sort of day where no matter what sort of clothes you wore, you just got soaked. And I got the umbrella up pretty quick, and because I'm on like an old stone slipway, there isn't exactly places you can hammer in tent pegs. So it's more so held down by the weight of the luggage that I have, the bags. So let's be honest, if it goes away, then it's going to go away. So I'm going to have to, if it starts to get windy, I'm going to have to just pack the Brolly down and get out of the way. I still have the cormorant in front of me. I don't know what it's doing. It hadn't touched the smelt or the mackerel that I had out there, but there's now actually, in fact I can see two. So they're diving, and they're just sitting in front of me. They're about, I would say they're about 40 yards in front of me, and they're just going down. They're coming up and they're eating, so they're eating the silverfish. So there must be silverfish here if the cormorants are working. There's been a steady stream of water coming down from the road there, so there's still lots of rain. I mean, I look at it across at the far side, and there's still a lot of rain falling, so Lough Erne's going to get a little bit deeper. This is the first time this year that I've seen the Derryadd jetty flooded, so I wonder what the lower half of the loch looks like. For those that don't really know, Lough Erne is the Erne system, as it's known as. It's kind of split between big lochs and rivers. You have the upper and the lower. The lower loch is the big one, you know. So we're fishing on the upper loch at the minute. This is the nearest big town to this would be Lisnaskea. But then you've got between upper and lower, you have the River Erne, which cuts through Enniskillen town. And yesterday, the wife and I were in Enniskillen just doing some shopping, and the river looked like it was tanking through. You know, you can stand on one of the bridges in the town and look at the river, and when you see the flotsam and jetsam, like just random crap coming down, it looked like it was absolutely bombing through. So there's still a lot of water in this part of the system to push through. You know, you've got like the two big lochs, then the river. Then the rivers ultimately flow out to the Ballyshannon hydroelectric dam. You know, the old Killisandra. There used to be the old Killisandra Falls, and in the 50s they built a hydroelectric dam, and instantly it killed the salmon and all the migratory species coming into the system. So progress. For the Greens saying that hydroelectric power is cruelty free and all that sort of shit, but this being this December, the commercial guys are netting, which breaks my heart, really does. The commercial anglers are no longer allowed to net this stretch of the Erne. You know, which I can imagine, you know, it's progress. You know, you can agree with me or not, it is progress. But I'll be honest, my favourite loch to fish was always the bigger loch. And it just breaks my heart seeing, you know, environmental vandalism on that scale. And it's based purely out of ignorance. You know, if you speak to the human being that's doing it, he is open and honest when he says to you that he's doing it to keep the trout guys happy, because there shouldn't be any pike in that loch. It should only be for the trout. You know, real stroker of a human being. But eventually, with that guy, when he dies, his license to net dies with him. So, not that I'm wishing anyone's death, but that's just, so eventually there won't be netting on upper or lower Lough Erne. There won't be legal netting. There's still plenty illegal poaching going on. You know, there's still plenty of that. There's still nets found every year. You know, there was actually one found just down into one of the cuts here, and it was found actually it was found about 4 months ago. So there's still people out there that are raping the system, but you can't. The way the rules are in Northern Ireland, you cannot touch a licensed netter's net. They'll have tags on it. You're not allowed to physically touch it. You're not actually physically allowed to remove a poacher's net either. The rules are that you're meant to phone the 24-hour pollution hotline, and they'll get somebody out to you sometime in the next never. There is an operation here called Operation Silverfin, where you could phone the police. If you're in the Republic, you could phone the guards. But given the standard of some of the police officers I know, asking them to perform like their actual job against criminals is asking an awful lot. So ask them to understand environmental issues is going to be difficult. They're not all police officers. There are some absolute awesome ones that do a cracking job, but there's some arseholes that just don't seem to want to care. Not that I'm slagging off the police. I'm not going to grow out my hair and become one of these defund the police hippies. What's happening this week in the news? Well, Boris Johnson's shit the bed. He really has shit the bed this time. With his plan B for the unnamed virus from unknown geographical location. He said that we can't have Christmas parties whilst having a shitload of Christmas parties in Downing Street. I'm not sure what happened to Boris. I really am not sure what happened to him at all. I think the COVID and his new wife have robbed him of his testicular fortitude. Because he's definitely failing at being a Prime Minister. But in other news, going across to America, because we like America. The actor that claimed he was in Chicago and given a lynching, like a bunch of Trump supporters, you know, called him a homosexual and tied a noose around his neck and poured bleach over him and battered him whilst not leaving him with a scratch. It got found out that was all bullshit. He made the whole thing up to garner popularity for himself. But it's actually kind of like raised, you know, bigger questions. Especially like the Americans need to have like lots more questions answered. The initial prosecution for the guy, when the police eventually found that it was all bullshit, the initial prosecution was cancelled by the attorneys. And it turns out that the attorney the solicitor, just call them solicitors, the solicitor that cancelled the thing was, let's just say they were friendly with high society political types. So it looked like there was some interference on a political scale. But eventually he's been found guilty of the charges of lying through his teeth and faking a hate crime. All because he didn't like Trump. Americans. Strange breed. I think I'm going to have a cup of coffee. And I think I might just change that to a ledgered bait instead of the float ledgered, because it's getting too windy now for a little pencil float. It's too windy for the delicate tactics. Time to break out lead. 5 to 5. And Jesus Christ, what a day. The 45-mile-an-hour winds, they arrived early. They arrived early. So I'm just about to take a drive home now. One run, lost the fish at the net. Shit happens. It was a day out though. Time to do the standard YouTube stuff now. If you're watching the videos and you haven't yet subscribed, then please feel free to subscribe. It really helps me out. La 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 la. Seriously though guys, if you're watching the videos and you like what you see, drop me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I do try and get back to all the comments. And I will see you next time. It's a good job I'm a fat bastard, because that wind would have blown me away. Skinnier man would have landed and done a goal. Till the next time, troops, tight lines.